Everyone, I'm just going to briefly discuss in this random video uh, my sort of uh, uh, moments within the Olympics that I fairly appreciated that just happened. Yes, the Olympics are now officially over from London 2012, and I just wanted to talk about the moments that I witnessed. Again, I wasn't able to watch every single little thing that was on the Olympics, especially considering how many different individual uh, events there were. But I just wanted to briefly discuss a little bit of the things that I found to be very cool and the things that I really admire about the Olympics. I think I've always really watched the Olympics, probably starting at a fairly young age, or at least noticing them at a fairly young age, for me at least. I don't know if anybody's ever come to the point where they've decided to watch the Olympics, but I like watching both. I like watching the winter and the summer. And the reason why I like it so much is I like the whole concept of having all these different countries sort of come together and have these kinds of games and be in this one place in this one time and have it for a certain amount of time that allows for everybody to sort of, show their sort of, kind of pride, but also their compassion and kindness towards others. I think the Olympics has a way of bringing people together. Even though people are rooting maybe for a particular country, I think it still signifies a sense of sort of unity within ourselves, that we can come together and that we can have fun and play games and sort of forget all the differences that really divide a lot of the world. I think that's really something that that's just amazing. So yeah, I think it's nice to have these kinds of games once every 2 years. I think the world needs it, and it's nice to witness. But I think for the most part, a lot of people are probably talking about Michael Phelps and the fact that he's won probably the most medals of all time, and yes, it's fairly understandable that Michael Phelps would come up here and me mentioning him. I think he seemed to do a decent job, although I don't think it was he wasn't as, I think, as consistent maybe as he was in, say, Beijing. But I think he said he was going to end his career, but I don't know if he'll maybe continue on, depending. But he's accomplished a lot. I think 16 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze, 20 medals. That's crazy. And I think he really does deserve it for all the hard work and effort that he's put into. But I really don't know him personally, but I think that that was a fairly big highlight for people, because even though he did win a lot of gold in Beijing, London allowed him to be able to be on sort of the world record list when it comes to these Olympic medals. So that's really, I think, why London was probably significant for Michael Phelps and significant for the world to watch, because he's just so fast, and you can tell though that that after this Olympics he kind of I think he's done. I could be wrong, but I just don't think he had the stamina that he did in Beijing. But I think he has, I guess you could say, allowed himself to continue and to sort of finish. I think that's really what London gave him. I don't think it gave him sort of the same kind of awe that we saw maybe in 2008. I think what he was just shooting for is to get that sort of world record holding medal account, and it shows by how many medals he's won. So yeah, I think this is probably his end. Although I could be wrong, people probably change their minds constantly about these things. But that was a pretty big highlight, I think, in the Olympics, and I think it's definitely something worth considering. What also was really, I guess, cool and what was fairly important for the United States was the girls' team in gymnastics. They won gold. Some won for the Gabby Douglas won for the all-around, and some others won gold for various different things. But for the most part, them as a team, I think they were just very good in sort of delivering what they needed to deliver, and I think they all have like a special talent, I guess you can say. But I guess it kind of depends, because gymnastics is usually, you don't see a lot of people continue it on to the point when they're a lot older. But there happened to also be a German woman there who actually goes. She goes and competes for the Olympics because I believe my mom said the story was that her son, I think, has cancer or has some condition, and she wants to continue on the sport so she can sort of help support her child. And I think that's fairly unique, even though she never really won a medal. But I think gymnastics is a fairly young sport. You see a lot of younger kids. And when I was looking at it, I just felt so old, because I'm like already 20 and these kids are like 15, 16, 17. So it's a little odd. But I thought that was interesting for the most part. I thought that them winning gold was interesting, because nobody has won it since like I guess the very famous 1980s time when the Americans actually won the gold, which was, I guess, fairly significant, because one of the players injured her leg, but she was still able to somehow stick it. I think that's rather interesting and sort of inspiring in a way. But I think for the most part, what I saw throughout gymnastics was fairly interesting to watch, and I think engaging for the most part. Not so much for the men's, though, in particular for the United States, because the United States men, although one of them did win, I think, bronze, it seemed like that they just couldn't make the cut for certain things, but it was nice to see all the other countries as well competing, not just the United States. And it was nice to see some people finally win some medals that their countries maybe never even won a medal. I think there's a particular island country that won in track, and it was their first ever medal, and it was gold, and I think that's really cool, and that's very interesting. There was and then America even won some medals that we never really even necessarily I think really were in sort of the running to win, and I think that was in, I think it's called Jitsu, and it's interesting to see how even sometimes me coming from the United States, seeing people that and seeing a sport that I haven't really noticed people really do. And again, I guess it was also nice to see the guy win for diving as well, sort of later on in the Olympics. I think that was yesterday, yeah. And I think for the most part for the United States, they ranked up really good in medals. I think they got the highest amount of medals. I forget exactly the count, but I believe it's like United States, China, and I think Great Britain is somewhere in the top 10, I believe. And Great Britain also really stood out as well. They had some really good performances in various events, from running to bicycling or cycling. It was very nice to see sort of the home country able to pick up some medals and have their country sort of be represented. I think that's nice to have, and it was fairly interesting to see the medal count, because it was always between China and the United States, and sometimes China was on top, and then the United States came and just got more medals, and it was interesting to see the different sort of medal counts. However, it would have been nice to see a little bit more of the ones who maybe didn't really necessarily medal. I think for the most part, a lot of what my TV stations focused on was anything that the United States was competing for. But it was really cool to see. It was nice to see beach volleyball. It was nice to see court volleyball. I like volleyball, so that was fairly cool to watch. Even though it was kind of upsetting for the men's teams, because in the men's teams in beach volleyball, none of them made it, and some of those beach volleyball guys like live around in California, so I'm just like, no, you were all so cool, why weren't you able to medal? Oh well. But yeah, I just think sometimes these Olympics can be very uplifting, but they can be disappointing at times, because maybe we expect certain people to win and they don't, and then it maybe shocks us. I think that was the same feeling of Michael Phelps in the beginning, because in the beginning he got a bronze, I think, in one of the events. So it wasn't until like later he just kind of started picking up some golds, and yeah, I think it really he's trying to sort of do is just sort of very I guess you could classify it as a little bit crazy, that somebody would, try to push themselves so much just for a medal, and you kind of grow to admire these Olympians, even no matter where they're from. And sometimes it's not really about them winning a medal. You'll see how some Olympians, they're just there because it's fun for them. It's fun, and it's engaging for them, and they're not really concerned about the numbers. And for me, I really like that, even though I was kind of looking, okay, where's the U.S.? But it's still nice to still look at these other things as well, and I kind of realize how much more important those things are than necessarily a medal count. And it's nice to see some, and I think there was also a diver who won bronze, and for, I believe it was an Asian country, and it was the first medal for them, and I think that's really nice. It's nice to see more countries getting kind of represented, and I think for the most part this Olympics was, even though the US did seem to be like the standouts in everything, because they seem to have like all these events that Americans were involved in, it seemed like it still was fairly spread out to the extent of, people being able to, I guess, have a chance to win. I believe Uganda won a race actually today, and it was gold, and I think that's fairly nice, as well as Kenya, who also won for, and it was both of them were for running, and both of them were in the same event. So really, I think the Olympics just have this way of showing us the world, and it was nice to see these different parts of London. And London is just, let me just say, London is just such an amazing city, so beautiful, just drop dead gorgeous. You just look at that Tower Bridge, and what's so cool is that on the Tower Bridge they had the 5 rings of the Olympics, and I just thought that's just so cool. It's just so gorgeous, with the River Thames running through, and seeing just all these people coming together, sort of, and celebrating this. It's just so much fun to watch. It's very interesting to kind of, take back, like, and think, or just kind of sit back and think about all these different things that have happened, and they really do, I think, help us sort of escape from the everyday, and I think that's really what makes the Olympics sort of like a holiday. And you kind of appreciate that holiday. It's that time of 2 years, because again, they don't happen every year, they happen once every 2 years, but still, it is nice to see them happening. And I just think London itself did a very fantastic job. Everything just looked so clean. I think there was some complaints about them not having seats, and for the most part, all those little minor things, I don't think should hold people, the Olympics any lower just because a few seats aren't taken. I think that for all the hard work that was put into making the Olympics possible, I think that we should definitely appreciate what London has given us, especially considering sort of how difficult it is to pull off an Olympics and to pull it off effectively. And I think London has done the Olympics before. So even though it's nothing new necessarily, it still has this kind of, I think, weight as far as us being able to kind of take in and understand how maybe things have changed. And it's really nice to go back to London, and it's nice to see all of these different events happen, and it's nice to see how they set everything up. And the opening ceremony, even though I still think China's opening ceremony was probably the best one that I've seen, London's opening ceremony was very nice. I really liked the opening ceremony. I don't know why people were complaining or something. I thought it was a little bit better than the Canadian one that was during the Winter Olympics that happened, I think, in 2010. Yeah. So again, it's just a whole, yeah, it's just another Olympics in another part of the world, and it's nice to see that once in a while. I think we kind of, I think it's a perfect time to have an Olympics every 2 years. And I think it just shows really the hearts of the people behind these Olympics, because it just looks like it just takes so much to make an Olympics, and it looks like it just takes so much people and time and effort to really make it all work and all be possible. And I think if there's anybody watching who's involved in the Olympics in some way, shape, or form, it's I think people maybe take for granted how much everything requires so much to sort of pull it off. And I really appreciate what everybody tried to put in the effort for, from the athletes to the coaches to everybody who was making all the are arranging sort of all of the stadiums, arranging all of the, different events, making sure that everything ran smoothly. The security, which was probably really, really stressful. And nothing bad happened. It was all good, for the most part. And I just think that it was just a very good show. The Olympics are intended, I think, to be a show. I think they're intended to be more, maybe a little bit more artsy, especially with their opening and like closing ceremonies, and some of the events like maybe gymnastics and rhythmic gymnastics, and maybe some sports other sports can also be counted as maybe a little bit more artsy. But I think the Olympics are just designed to be something where the world can sort of come together and kind of forget about certain problems and just be happy, and just enjoy the moment and enjoy being together on this planet. And I just think it's something that we should all pay sort of a homage to. But I think that's really all I can say about the Olympics. Specifically about all the other events, I think it was kind of obvious with certain ones, like that the US would do well in maybe track and field, and that they would do well in swimming. They had a lot of swimmers. That we would maybe do well in certain areas of gymnastics, that we would do well maybe in these other events, but we had some surprises as well. As far as with other countries is concerned, it's nice to see that other countries were able to sort of rise up and be able to maybe claim something for themselves. And I think it's just nice to see and be a part of. I think it'd be nice to maybe go one day to an Olympics if I could. If I was in the area, I would probably definitely try. But I think London really, really did work hard on this Olympics, and I think there was a lot of effort behind this, and to make it all possible. And I think there's just something to be appreciative about it, and I think, and I'm really looking forward to I believe the Winter Olympics are in Russia, which will be really interesting because Russia is usually known for having snow, and it sounds like such a beautiful time to have the Olympics in Russia. So that will be interesting. And then you have Rio, that's in 2016. So there's that as well. But who knows? Who knows where the next Olympics will be? It's kind of like, even though we'll know where they'll be in 2 and 4 years, we don't know really after that, and it's just kind of nice to wonder and see where we'll go, and it's kind of going on a journey a little bit. And that's why I really like these Olympics, because I feel like every day is sort of like a journey, and it's nice to watch. Although I didn't watch all of it. I tried to watch the ones that really were the most interesting to me, and it was nice to see the effort and be maybe sometimes on the edge of my seat with certain sports. And even though I'm not such a sporty person, I think the Olympics, I think I can make a really big exception for, because they make me want to watch sports. Because I just kind of like how it's not just between these two different teams, it's between different countries, and then you kind of see how each country has kind of its own methods, and it's just really cool to have that. I think that if we could continue on making Olympics and having them, I think it's just very eye-opening for people, and I think the athletes really appreciate the ability to be able to participate, and whether or not they win a medal, regardless, I think it's that the time and effort that they put in really shows, and I think it's just something that I think can be appreciated. But I think that's really all I can say about the Olympics. It's intended to be a kind of a play. It's intended to be in a place and time where everybody can kind of come together, and no matter what the problems are, no matter what the circumstances are, we can somehow be able to pause for a moment and just kind of have a little bit of, just of companionship and sportsmanship. I think those things are very important. But I think that's really all I can say. I would love to know what moments really stood out to you in the Olympics. I think really all that I could say was, again, Michael Phelps, because he just won crazy amounts of medals. His medal count is just insane at 20. 16 of them being gold. The gymnastics girls team, Fab Five or whatever they're called. The volleyball, Misty May and Carrie Walsh winning for beach volleyball, because they won like 2 other consecutive gold medals, and it was nice to see how they kind of, I think it was Misty May said that this was going to be her last Olympics, and I think that it was nice to see the pair be able to play and then win for the gold the last time, I guess, together. And there was also some other moments that I really found myself really enjoying, just random moments, and whether they dealt with the American team or whether they dealt with others as well. It was just nice to hear about who won too. Sometimes I maybe wouldn't watch it, but then my mom would tell me, "Oh, this person won," and then I would just be all like happy. So yeah, I think that's really all I can say before I just start babbling. But yeah, I would definitely love to hear what anybody has to say about the Olympics, about what their standout moments were. I think those were really the 3 ones that I can really think of that really were like, yeah. And all the other ones I think were also standouts, but those seem to be the ones that were really the most focused on, at least from the stations that I watched. But I think that's really all I can say. Any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them, and until next time.